All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going to tackle a concept that has literally built our world, from the ancient wonders all the way to the phone you might be holding right now. We're talking about projects. And to really get what they are, we've got to start with a kind of wild question. Now, I know that sounds like a bit of a trick question, right? But the answer tells you something really fundamental about how we, as people, make progress. See, both of them were these massive, one-of-a-kind undertakings. Their whole purpose was to create something that had never, ever existed before. And that, right there, that's the heart of what we're talking about today.
So, what's the secret sauce? What's that magic ingredient that takes some regular old activity and turns it into a full-blown project? It's a great question, and it's what separates the day-to-day grind from building something truly new. Let's break it down.
Okay, so according to the pros over at the Project Management Institute, the official definition really boils down to two absolutely crucial words: temporary and unique. Temporary means every single project has a clear beginning and a clear end, no exceptions. And unique means the goal, the whole point, is to make something that hasn't been done in exactly that way before.
Let's make this super clear. Imagine building a brand new house. That is a project. It's a temporary push to create one unique home. And once that house is built, the project's done. Finished. Now think about a cashier at a grocery store. Their job is to scan items day in and day out. That's routine, it's ongoing. That's not a project, we call that operations.
Here it is. This is the key. The project to design the very first iPhone was this huge, complex, one-time thing. But once they perfected that unique prototype, the job of making millions more of them, well, that becomes operations. You see the pattern? A project creates the blueprint, and operations uses that blueprint again and again and again.
Okay, so if a project is all about creating the blueprint, how in the world is that blueprint actually made? I mean, every great project, whether it's a skyscraper or a new app, starts as a big idea. But you know what? An idea by itself is pretty much useless. You need a master plan to turn that vision into something real. So you know that old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Well, project managers basically live by that. They take a giant goal, like building that house, and they slice it up. This whole process is called a work breakdown structure, or a WBS. The big goal gets chopped into major parts, foundation, framing, you name it. And then those parts get broken down even more into these tiny, manageable tasks called work packages, like, say, install the kitchen sink plumbing. And that is how a scary, overwhelming goal suddenly becomes doable. And that blueprint, that master plan, it's got to be grounded in reality. It's this constant juggling act between three really important things. First, the scope. What exactly are we building? Second, the schedule. How long do we have to do it? And third, the cost. What's the budget? It's a delicate balance. If you change one of those, you pretty much always have to adjust the other two. But of course, blueprints don't just build themselves, right? At its core, a project is a human thing. It's all about bringing the right people together, getting them focused on one common goal, and letting them create something amazing. I love this quote because it just nails the role of the project manager. Think of them as the director of a movie or the foreman on a construction site. They're that central hub, the person who gets the vision and then leads the team to actually make it happen. But the project manager is never flying solo. Nope, they're part of this whole ecosystem of people we call stakeholders. You've got the sponsor, who's footing the bill. You have the customer, who's going to use whatever you build. You've got the manager leading the charge and the project team doing the actual work. And you might even have outside groups like regulators making sure everything's done by the book. It really does take a village.
And all this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. What happens when the project is actually, well, done? We already said projects are temporary. So when that one unique thing has been created, what happens next? This is where you see two totally different life cycles happening. The project's life is short and sweet. You start it, plan it, do the work, and then you close it out. It has an end date. But right as that project is winding down, the product it created is just starting its own life. It gets introduced to the world, it grows in popularity, it matures, and then eventually it might start to decline. And guess what that usually triggers? A brand new project to create the next big thing. And that's why the project team itself has to be temporary. Once their unique mission is accomplished, boom, they're done. They move on to the next big challenge. The thing they built, that product or service, gets handed over to the permanent, ongoing part of the company. That's right, it goes to the operations team, who will take care of it for the long haul.
Okay, let's put it all together one last time so it really sticks. A project's goal is to create something unique. Operations' goal is to sustain the business. Projects are temporary, operations are permanent. See, this is why project work feels new and different, while operations work is all about routine and repetition.
And that brings us right back to where we started. From the pyramids to the iPhone and literally everything in between, projects are the engine of change. They're how we take an idea, an imagining, and turn it into reality. It's how we move the world forward.
So next time you see a crane in the sky, a new app pop up on your phone, or even just a new community garden being planted in your neighborhood, you'll know what's really going on. It's a project, a temporary, unique effort to create something new. Which kind of leaves us with one last thought, right? What's the next project that's going to change your world?